Is the mall dying? Well, one of them certainly is. Hello there, welcome back to the channel. I am Grand Moff Tony. Now, before I get started, I just wanted to do a little shout out to everyone who reached out over the last week to check in, make sure I was alright. I'm doing much better now. I really appreciate you all reaching out, and very grateful for it. I've got a brilliant community of viewers. I think it's fantastic, and I will be talking about that towards the end of the video. But this week in particular, I wanted to talk about something that is kind of important to me, because as many of you know, I am an in-store purchaser, really. I prefer to go out and find my Black Series figures in stores. That's why we do toy hunts. That's why we travel to different places to go and look in different stores to try and find more and more of these toys. I love the hunt. That is part of what I enjoy about collecting. I love finding a figure that I'm looking for, hanging on a peg, or sitting on a shelf, and being able to pick it up and go, I've got it. This is mine now. And also from a technical perspective, if I'm looking for a certain figure, I like to be able to pick up 2 or 3 of them, have a look and see which one's got the best application of paint, make sure there are no QC issues that I need to be worrying about. That's why I prefer finding these things in person. I like looking for toys in stores because it's fun. When I was younger, sometimes I just liked to go to toy stores to just enjoy being there. There was a Toys R Us about 5 or 10 minutes from where I grew up, and I would go there weekly, and most of the time I wouldn't walk out with anything. It was the atmosphere. It was being in that place that's so bright and so colourful and reminded me so much of my childhood. That's why I liked going there. But more and more it seems to be the case that the stores are just shutting down, and a big symptom of that is the mall. Malls are just dying. Now, I first started thinking about this the last time we did a toy hunt on the channel, because I went to my local mall and I was hitting stores here, there and everywhere. I even went to FYE to go and laugh at the prices. But I took a short video while I was in there that I've now deleted of just how barren and empty this place was. Like, there are stores, most of them are closed down, some of them are open, and there's maybe 2 or 3 people wandering these big empty hallways, and it just made me sad. Like, it reminded me of the shopping centre in my hometown, and trying to imagine what it would be like if I went into that shopping centre and saw no one and nothing, like just this empty, barren building. So this is something that's been going on for a long time, and it's something that I've noticed as an in-store collector. It's becoming harder and harder to go to these places because they're just shutting down. Like, the stores are closing, the malls are dying. It feels like that episode of South Park where they're talking about the living room dying, only it's the mall. So this all leads me on to what I want to talk about this week, which is my first American mall. Like, the first big mall that I went to as a person living in the US is now closing down. Lakeside Mall is shutting down. It's going goodbye, and the wife and I decided to pop down and say our goodbyes to it because, you know, my wife grew up here, she used to spend time there, and obviously for me it's very personal because it was my first mall. It's the first American mall that I ever visited. So we jumped in the car, we hit a couple of places on the way down there. It wasn't really a full-blown toy hunt, we weren't really out looking for things, but I did grab some footage here and there, so I'll share that with you. The first stop on the way down was a Target in the area, so we popped in and had a look, see what you think. Not a tremendous amount. Like, this Target is never the best one, to be honest. It's never one that I make an effort to really go to because they very rarely have anything. And yeah, this time was no exception. There's not a lot there. A couple of those Mandos, not very much to write home about. The next stop was the local GameStops. Have a look-see and see what we found. some really good stuff there. No complaints from me. I am tempted by that Dr. Aphra, I'm not gonna lie. I've got the original, and I thought I would never need the other one. I just keep seeing her, and I'm just like, well, maybe one day I'll grab that one. They also had the Paz Vizsla that was in FYE the other week for $60. It wasn't $60 in GameStop, I can assure you of that. But then it was finally time. It was finally time to go to Lakeside and see what has become of it on its final days. Have a look. Yeah, nothing really quite prepares you for how hollow a mall feels when it's dying. Like, when the stores are just gone, and all that's left is a handful of people wandering from place to place just to see if there's anything left. For the most part, it was just sad. It was just sad seeing this big empty building and knowing that it's done. It's on its last legs, its days are over. It was really, really hard. You know, Lakeside Mall, like I said, was the first mall that I visited in the States, and it wasn't even a case of, like, clearance surfing. We weren't even, like, looking for great clearance prices because there weren't any. Because these stores were either closed already, or they had somewhere else to relocate to, so being left with a bunch of stock wasn't a problem for them. Of course, FYE was already closed down, so we naturally swung by and paid our respects in the best way possible. I don't know, it just made me really, really sad. It made me really, really sad. Lakeside is obviously an extreme example. Like, they were probably having problems long before this stuff started happening. And from what I can tell from talking to people, like, it's been on the cards for a few years that Lakeside was going to shut down. It just feels so permanent and so final when it's actually happening. Like, it's actually, the day is here, the mall is closing, it's shutting down. And it does leave you wondering, like, as someone who enjoys going out and physically going to places, going to stores and buying things, are we seeing the end of that? Like, is that ending? I mean, I made the joke in Lakeside when we found out that that great big fountain was empty and all the water and all of the Make-A-Wish change was gone. I'd say they probably collected it all up to cover the rent for the previous month. I don't know, man. It's a sad, sad situation. Like, especially as someone, like I say, who enjoys going out and buying stuff and going to stores and buying stuff and doesn't really enjoy buying stuff online unless it's absolutely necessary. So maybe this is the beginning of the end. Maybe the mall is dying. Maybe we're gonna one day talk about how we used to go to the mall and we used to go and sit by the fountain and throw our change in, and it'll just be something that we all remember doing, like everything else that humanity has ever done over its long period of time in existence. Oh, remember when we used to do that? Oh, that was 100 years ago. We don't do that anymore. Maybe the mall is gonna be another victim of the relentless march of time. We did stop at one more place afterwards. We stopped by another GameStop, so here's that. Have a look, see what we found in there. Probably the best one of the day. Lots of really great recent stuff, and that made me really, really happy. But yeah, that was my experience at one of the final days at Lakeside Mall. It's a little bit humbling, to be honest. You see something like that has just reached the end of its time. It's not enough for a full-blown toy hunt, but I wanted to talk about this because it's something that has been rattling around in my head ever since I was in that mall a couple of weeks ago and just saw how empty it was. So I just wanted to get that out there. talk about it for a minute because it's got to be happening in other places too. And I'll pass this off to you guys in the comments. What's your experience with your local mall? Like, how are they doing? Are they still doing okay? Are they shutting down? Have you already lost it? Like, is it already gone? And I want to know, what does your area look like without it? Because I don't know what they're going to do with the space. They'll probably knock the building down and build apartments or something, I guess. But what does it look like? Like, what does it feel like to not have that mall there anymore? So yeah, let me know down below. I'll be very interested to hear from all of you. Before I go, I just wanted to touch very, very lightly on what it's like out there right now. I know it's difficult to be a Star Wars fan online right now. That was part of the reason why I stepped away for a week last week. It was just becoming too much. Like, there was so much of it going on that I didn't feel like I could sit here and talk about Star Wars the way that I like to, because I had just been so ground down by it. There's so much of it going around. But I did. I took a step back. I barred myself from social media comment sections. Like, that was a big part of it. Like, I continued to interact with posts that I saw that I liked, but if I was going to be leaving a comment, I would literally leave it under the post. I wouldn't click on the comment section because I've got a very, very strict no BS rule on social media. Like, if I see a comment that makes me go, oh, for God's sake, that's an instant block. Goodbye. But I found that in the last couple of weeks, more and more, I was going looking for those comments. I was going into comment sections looking for those comments. That was a mistake. That I shouldn't have done that. That was a mistake. But the solution for me was to just walk away from it, to just back away. I still don't really go into comment section. If I like the content, interact with the content creator, sure, but mostly just stay out of that cesspool because it's an easy thing to do. It's an easy change to make, and I feel so much better. So much better. If you want to know what my thoughts are on anything Star Wars, all you gotta do is ask. That's all you have to do. And if enough people ask, I'll probably do a video on it, and then you can all find out what I think about it. For the most part, the biggest thing that the biggest takeaway I want you to have from this section of the video is that I am so grateful for my little corner of the internet, for my fantastic community of people who watch my stuff, they comment on it, we talk about Star Wars, the stuff that we like, the stuff that we don't like. It's constructive and it's enjoyable discourse. It's not yelling and screaming at strangers on the internet, sending death threats to Wikipedia, demanding that George Lucas be brought back even though you're probably the reason that he got out of filmmaking in the first place. At the end of the day, being a Star Wars fan is not about loving everything that comes out. It is not about jumping on every bandwagon, showing up for every movie, or tuning into every TV show week on week on week. It's not about studying Wikipedia and having this massive, completely useless information taking up space in your head. And it's not even about buying the toys. It's really not. It is about the love of Star Wars. It's about how you conduct yourself as a Star Wars fan around other Star Wars fans. Take a step back. Just take a step back and get back in touch with what you love about this franchise. Define yourself by what you love about these movies, about these TV shows, about these books. Whatever your medium, whatever your era, define yourself by what you love about it. So that's the big, swelling, emotional finale to this incredibly unhinged, unscripted rant that is probably going to be edited to within an inch of its life. You will find so much joy if you define yourself by what you love about these movies, rather than dwelling on what you hate about them. Because hate leads to suffering, and suffering is not fun. As for me, you will always find me to be a source of exactly that. You'll find me to be a source of what I love about Star Wars, what I love about collecting Star Wars toys. I make that promise to you. You will always find that here. You'll find me at my best loving Star Wars. That's my promise to all of you. And with that said, I want to make this week's Let Me Know in the Comments the most obvious thing that I could say in the history of YouTube. Tell me your favorite Star Wars moment, whatever it is. I don't care if it's in a movie, a TV show, a book, a comic, anything, video game, I don't care. Your favorite Star Wars moment, the one that lives in your head rent-free and just makes you so happy to be a Star Wars fan. Let me know down in the comments down below. I would love to hear from each and every one of you. In the meantime, however, I've been Grand Moff Tony. That was the end of Lakeside Mall and a little rant on the current state of Star Wars discourse. You may subscribe when ready.